Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy practitioner. And I have notes here. Today, I'm going to talk about self-sacrifice and how that ties into mentalism. But I also want to talk about an altercation that I had with another member of the natural law community this week, and all of the experiences that I have continually with people in the supposed freedom movement. Um, this is why I started this channel in the beginning, was because I felt it was important to understand formal consensus, which creates horizontal communication so that an automatic tyranny is not formed, because we've all been mind controlled into a tyranny, a hierarchy, if you will. And we have to learn how to communicate differently. We can't just automatically, just because we think we know something about natural law or freedom, we can't just automatically think that we are somehow above being tyrannical ourselves. Um, so once again, um, I said something on social media, and some people swooped in to tell me how I was wrong. And um, in a really condescending and nasty way, and I defended myself. And then I could see, unfortunately, that these people have no idea about how to treat other people equally, as if we're equals. Now, I have my own problems with social media. I always or often fail to preface my statements with some sort of introduction. I just come out with whatever I have to say, and that causes me a lot of problems. And so that's something I would have to work on if I was going to continue to be on social media, which I don't see myself doing forever. Um, but I think that is a failure of mine, where what I would have to say is something like, quote, as one member of this group, I blah, blah, blah. Or I'm not an authority, but this is my experience, blah, blah, blah. Something like that. That would put me in a better position than just coming out with what I have to say, because people are easily offended because it seems as though I am taking authority when I make a statement like that. But then the other authority, the supposed authorities, come out and put me down. This is something that could easily be solved if a group decided that they were going to take it on, and then they would learn how to communicate with each other. Um, but I don't see it happening, honestly. And sadly, they don't seem to think it's relevant. One person actually said, to quote Rodney King, "Why can't we just get along?" And it was kind of funny to me because Rodney King was shot by the police, hired thugs. But then later someone told me that he was a psyop. I don't know that if that's true or not, but um, I don't know about that. But we can't all just get along, which is why we're in the predicament that we're in right now. Because we can't get along with each other because we don't rule the inner monarchy, we have an outer monarchy. Because we don't know how to get along with each other. We don't know how to be free, equal beings together. We don't know who the leader is. We don't know who gets to make the decisions. without using, and what these people do is they use sarcastic insults to put people down so that they can get their way. And that is a form of tyranny, which does lead me to my topic, which is self-sacrifice. So, and going back to mental alchemy, which is a part of mentalism, mental alchemy is connecting within yourself to the I, the part of yourself that is connected to your higher self, and putting down the me. And I was thinking about this, that even the image itself of the I, I'm going to see if I can't draw this for you. Okay, there's an I right there, right? I. Okay, so here it is. Heaven and earth. Heaven and earth. So the I, the person, all seven chakras, or rather this is the root chakra right here, and this is the crown. So the other five chakras are aligned vertically between the earth and the heaven. But then the me, see me right there? Let's see if I can get that. Me is like a little snake on the ground. Me is completely of the earth. So I have to sacrifice me, the little s self of me. Um, which is what we learned about in the Kybalion, and which has gone into greater detail in the arcane teachings and the arcane formulas. It's what the whole thing is about, is to connect with the I, and so that you strengthen the I person, and then you're coming from the I person most of the time, let's say 95% of the time. If you're coming from the I person, the higher self, the connected part, the part of yourself that is rooted in the earth and connected to the cosmos, you won't tolerate the crap that's going on around here. You would stand up for principle. The law of mentalism is that we are the I. We have the mind connected to the creator, housed in the body, and our job is to answer to the I and God and sacrifice the me. Therefore, materialism without God, spirit, love is the shell of life, the golem. And that's what the dark occult Luciferians are going for right now. That's what they want, is to just have a bunch of golems and create some laws for them. Man's law. The law of correspondence is to understand as a result of having a meditation practice that we each contain an I and a me within ourselves. In the chakra system, the first three chakras are the me. So the root, the sacral, well, I would say actually that the will and the heart chakra are together. They should be together. But the solar plexus chakra is still part of the lower chakras. And then the heart, throat, third eye, and crown are the connected to the cosmic eye. Self-sacrifice, which is discussed in many books, is a way to practice this, but not in a self-sacrificing way. That's even more. We're in such shaky ground now because we've been robbed of our common sense through all of the psyops, that we don't theoretically put the oxygen mask over our nose and mouth first before we put it over our child's nose and mouth. Like, so basically saying that we sacrifice the I. That's what they want. They want us to be so off balance that we don't take care of ourselves in the natural way that one has to take care of oneself in order to be balanced. I have to feed myself mentally, physically, and spiritually in a balanced way. And then I can give from that point. But um, we're at the point now where we just sacrifice everything. Um, I should not sacrifice money, food, or material things which I need in order to survive. I should not steal from Peter to pay Paul in order to practice self-sacrifice. That's not going to work. But I could practice self-sacrifice by listening to another person and not giving advice. That would be a way to practice self-sacrifice. You would feel it, the urgency to share your point of view, to tell them what to do is the self, the me, the little snake on the ground. The I knows that that person has their own connection to the creator and they will figure out their solution to their problem themselves. And you don't have to give that advice. Um, but these days, just listening to them and allowing them to connect through empathy, allowing us to connect through empathy is a huge gift of self-sacrifice because most of the time we do give advice and the person, if you give advice, or you can ask yourself how you feel when you talk to someone and you want to share your deepest, darkest with someone and they just give you advice. Don't you feel like they're pushing you away, like you're not connecting with them? That's the whole problem right there. One of the problems. Um, then I was going to say that for myself, as I've mentioned before, I lean on God, the creator. Um, I could not do this by myself. I can't take the burden of others upon myself. What I actually do is while I'm in the conversation, I ground myself and balance my chakras, pairing them and also filling out my whole auric field with my energy. And I pray for the person. I ask God to take care of them and find them a solution. And I ask that from my heart. I think I've shared the chakra exercises that I do, but I'll share them again in the description. Another form of self-sacrifice, uh, I use a qigong method. You put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your teeth and smile while I listen. So when you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your teeth, you're connecting two channels, the governing meridian and the conception meridian. And so you kind of automatically go into the I state. And then when you smile, you activate your heart chakra. And how is this a form of self-sacrifice? Because again, I'm thinking of the other person. I'm thinking of how can I best serve the other person, not what I can get from um, giving advice, which is a temporary feeling of self-righteousness because I think I know something more than they do. Then I can also ask them if I can be helpful in some way. And then I listen to what they need. To truly be helpful is to help them as they would like to be helped versus doing what I think they need. This is the difference between being a servant and being a government. We all have our own internal government, which needs to be fostered. We don't need any other outside form of government. We are all born with an inherent connection to God within the conscience. We all have a conscience, and unless we are psychopaths, we know right from wrong. But many of us have been abused out of that, of knowing that by our own parents, and we have to relearn it through reading and studying natural law, knowing right from wrong, don't steal. Self-sacrifice, don't steal. It's pretty basic, but it applies to everything. If you are thinking about the advice you're going to give someone while they're confiding in you, that is a form of coercion, a form of you stealing another person's time for your own egoic benefit. This is where meditation comes in and looking at yourself. Those of us who have deep wounds from ages 1 to 7, which is brain development time, may have to do a lot of work in order to be self-sacrificing, because we're trained into being quote unquote codependent. I don't really like that term. It doesn't really mean anything. If you think about it, it doesn't really mean anything. But how it plays out in the world is um, that you try to be self-sacrificing to someone who is a taker, so they suck you dry. You can only be self-sacrificing with someone who, like in this triangle, like this is one person and this is the other person, and the dependence is on God or the creator for it to be healthy. If the dependence is on each other, it's not going to, um, it's going to be unhealthy, because you can't get, like if I sacrifice myself to someone who's a total taker, they're just going to rob me blind and I'll become a slave to them. And they're a slave to something else. Um, Many of us at this point only feel as though we have the me only. We don't feel as though we have the I. How do you get the I? Those of us who have extreme trauma may have a lot of work to do to find that. Um, in my experience, the me had run rampant because of growing up with rabid raccoons, my parents. I had to do a lot of, I had a lot of behaviors behind the me that I had to repair. Like I violated my I so much that she was buried. And in order for me to find the I had to take stock of all the bad stuff I had done as I was acting out the me, and I had to correct it. From that point on, I had a clean slate to live by the I. That's the only way to do it. And anyone interested in learning how to do that can contact me through my website, and I would offer that as a free service. How to clean up and repair so that you can have a clean slate to act out of the I, not the me. The I is the inner connection, my higher self, which is connected to God. In addition, I've always had to do the emotion. I've also had to do the emotion code to get rid of trapped emotions that were causing me a lot of problems. That is free to learn and you can do it yourself. And I am also certified in that as well. So I became a certified emotion code, body code practitioner, but I taught myself how to do the emotion code using the book and YouTube's, which anyone can do. And so you could really work a lot on your um, removing trapped emotions from childhood, although it does take a while to do it. The dark occult Luciferians are doing their level best to stamp out all connections to the I and make society all about me, which equates to extreme self-centeredness in society. Um, there are so many laws now that people are all focused on getting around the laws, and they disregard the needs of their fellow man, which is self-sacrifice. So if we were free to make our own choices, then it would come a lot more naturally to us to understand self-sacrifice. But right now, we're all focused on getting over on these stupid laws, which then ends up harming other people. Self-sacrifice in its truest sense is sacrificing the me. And when you do that, you get self-esteem. Self-esteem comes from taking esteemable action, which means, you know, going the extra mile for my brothers and sisters, helping others, doing my absolute best at everything I do, not in a perfectionistic way, but just doing my best. Um, Not stealing time at work on my phone, leave the phone in the car and do your job. Things like that. Um, Again, many people nowadays don't know how to differentiate between the me and the I. The the I has a quieter voice than the me. The me wants this or that and is loud and screams like King Baby in the high chair. I want mine. That can't be mine. It's not big enough. It's not the right color. Praying for others is another way to practice self-sacrifice. Again, you have to clear the channel though. If you like, for me, my prayers are answered, but I do a regular daily um, review of my behavior to make sure that I haven't caused harm to anyone. And if I have, then I make reparations for that harm that I've caused. But that doesn't mean, for example, that if someone is rude, then I stand up for myself, that I owe them anything, like in this last stupid thing that happened the other day. I just decided to get away from that person. The thing is like unfortunately, I used to believe that we could all get along, but we would all have to put in the work. But now I can see that most people that I've run into aren't willing to put in the work. So my solution is to get away from them. And even if I end up all by myself, I would rather be in that situation than be around psychopaths or secondary psychopaths or narcissists or self-centered pricks. I mean, there's just no point in trying to, at this point, and this is really sad to say because we don't really have the time to vet people, nor do we have the time to wait for the right people to show up. But that is the way it is. Like, people are not in a frame of mind right now to be able to put their little me's aside for the greater good without it being a hierarchy. This is something we used to know. It used to be inherent in society, but even in the 70s, it was still around, but it's been pounded out of us. Um, my old spiritual advisor used to say, I want mine, but I'll help you get yours first. That is enlightened self-interest. And you know who talks about that is Anthony DeMello. You could listen to his uh, DVDs or read his books. He talks about enlightened self-interest. Um, so in other words, I will get mine, especially if I help you get yours first. Now, of course, Jesus says that you're not supposed to think of what you're going to get when you are giving, but not all of us are at that level. There is nothing wrong with enlightened self-interest if you don't have a result in mind. See, you can't have a result in mind and you can't have an agenda. You can just know that by giving, you will receive. I can't just give to someone because I'm expecting to get a specific thing back. That is selfishness and it won't work. But I can tell God what I want and then try to be helpful to others, recognize with gratitude what I have and be graceful when I receive. Um, for example, I do not practice internet marketing for my business. I know how to do it as I'm an autonomy graduate, but I don't want to waste God's time that way. I tell God I need more clients or I need money, and then I go about my business of trying to be helpful to others for fun and for free. And I trust that I'm going to receive what I need. Here's another example of self-sacrifice. Leave your phone in the car. Self-sacrifice. The me is the one who is connected to your phone. The I is the one who's walking around present in the moment, trying to be helpful to others. Subtle ways in which the dark occult Luciferians are incubating the me to be the predominant ruler over the body, mind, and soul. It's leading to disaster. So, yeah, I think that gives you a lot to think about, I would think. Until next time.